Hello, BookTube. I've been opening a lot of Bookmail off camera, which is bad. I shouldn't do that. uh, Partly it's just been momentum and eagerness. Partly it's also because a week ago or so I hit a couple of books that were insane. The same reason that made me falter with live book openings, mail openings last year. The whole food for thought thing. I hit a couple of books in a row that were nuts, where the book was nuts, the author is nuts, and the publisher is marketing the thing expecting that I am nuts. That so I want to write a book about the splendor of moonlight, and so my book is going to be about the splendor of moonlight, which comes from the moon, which is made of green cheese. No, no, I don't care how much you study the poetry of John Keats about the beauty of moonlight. The moon is not made of green cheese. So the whole book is fatally flawed right from the beginning. And I'm not going to say that it's not, just because it's trendy to say that it is. I hit that patch, and that diverted me into opening lots of books off camera. But also it's true that a lot of the books that I get are electronic. They're PDFs. For a long time, in the pre-COVID days, I would get an email from a publisher saying, are you interested in this book? I'd say I very much am. And the publishers would say, all right, well, I can send it to you. And also I have the PDF if you want it. And I and every other reviewer in the world just said, nah, just send the book. The real book, I think we all said. Of course, a PDF is a real book. And when COVID shut down the whole world, those PDFs were the only game in town. No one was in the warehouses. No one was in the offices to mail anything. And also, around then, although I had been converted before then, I fell in love with e-reading. So, those two things kind of go together. So a lot of the new stuff that I get, I don't ever get in physical form. I get it just as a PDF. I still get a lot of print and paper books, mainly because I'm still in the business of delegating print and paper books. I'm still in the business of commissioning reviews. If it were all me, and only me, well, there wouldn't be any reason to fill the place up with print and paper books when I can review an ebook. But it's not only me. I am not only a freelance book reviewer, but I'm also an editor at a couple of different places. So I do occasionally send out books for review. So I don't have any books to open on camera now. I could take the physical copies and just show them to you anyway, even though they're opened. I'll have to figure out a way of what I want to do with this. I should just get back in the swing of opening all mail on camera. There's a fun in that. There's a Christmas morning kind of unpredictability in that. And we can just agree that if I look at a book and say food for thought, it means the book is crazy, or the author is crazy, or both. And just move on from there and not worry about it. But I want to show you 3 new or forthcoming books. I think all of these things are either out right now, like yesterday, or are coming out soon, that are interesting in one way or another. I picked 3 at random. I could have picked 30. I've been making too many videos today. I don't want to get into the habit of making 8 videos a day. I didn't want to get into the habit of making 5 videos a day. Because when you make 5 videos a day long enough, you get emails like the emails that I got just last week saying, in response to me making 4 videos, is everything all right? Is anything wrong? You didn't make as many videos as usual today. I had to email back to people and say, well, if I'm making 3 videos a day, I'm making more videos than most booktubers make in a week. If I make 5 videos a day, well, that's absurd. If I make 8 videos, most booktubers make 8 videos in a month. So, every day? It's a little bit, you can acclimate people. And I didn't want to do that. I don't know. I always say to people, I honestly don't know how people don't make 10 videos a day. There's so much bookish stuff to talk about. But that doesn't mean I want to do it. I'm no good example today, though, at all. I'm feeling extra productive with making booktube videos, because, of course, I just got back from Coachella. And, when you're at Coachella, you're not getting any work done. You're getting all sorts of other stuff done. So many of the YouTubers that you watch, not the booktubers. There were no booktubers invited other than me and Jack Edwards, and he didn't go. But so many of the YouTubers that you watch. Fashion, fitness, movie commentary, horror movie commentary. So many of them fell under my sway at Coachella. But I'm back. And I have a few books to show you. The first one obviously is not staying here. Obviously, it has a home destination. And now you all are horrified to know what that destination is. This is by somebody named Quinn Slobodian. No idea who he is, and in this case, it might be important. I might need to know. This is called Hayek's Bastards. Race, Gold, IQ, and the capitalism of the far right. This is about neoliberalism. This is about Hayek and von Mises and all of the... It's about how the people who fought the ideology of communism and ended up letting that make them the worst people in the world, then transferred their hatred of communism to their hatred of all sorts of other isms. All of which were good. All of which were environmentalism, feminism. And I think this guy's theory here is that these Hayek bastards grabbed onto three hard things. I am not flashing back to Coachella. Kindly get your mind out of the gutter. They grabbed onto three hard things. Hard currency, in other words, gold. Hard land ownership and land demarcation. You either have it or you don't. It's not in common. And hardwired human traits. And used all those things for evil. I think this guy is saying that these neoliberalists became the worst people in the world and laid the groundwork for the current arch-revanchist conservative fascism to which this country has fallen. But I don't know how far he's going to go, and I also don't know, the thing I mentioned about not knowing his antecedents is that I know that in subjects like this, the author's antecedents can mean a lot. This author could be preaching totally corrupted dogma, and I wouldn't know it, because I don't know this subject much at all. I'm going to be largely going on what the author tells me. Whereas, we have a booktuber in our midst who knows this subject literally better than anyone on earth. I guarantee you that David Murphy has read more on this subject than the author of this book. I guarantee that. So obviously this will not, Hayek's Bastards will not be staying with me. It'll be moving on to where it will find a home and probably lots of rumination. This next one, I think I've shown it to you before. This is by Tom Arnold Foster. This is Walter Lippmann. It's a new biography of Walter Lippmann. A fascinating intellectual figure. A fascinating social and intellectual figure. This is not a long book. And I don't quite know what to make of that. There's a lot to be said about this figure. I can't help but think that a shorter book, I think this is like 200-something pages, will be a Wikipedia entry. I can't, it's one of those subjects where I don't think you could do it otherwise. There was a great book on Walter Lippmann about 50 years ago, maybe more than that, that once upon, it was called Walter Lippmann and the American Century. And once upon a time, Walter Lippmann and the American Century was as common as dirt in used bookstores. I literally could not go to my own used bookstore at any time, in any week of any month of any year, for years, without seeing multiple copies of it for $1. Now that I want it, nowhere to be found. Nowhere at all to be found. I looked in vain. If I have a copy of Walter Lippmann and the American Century, first of all, I'm amazed if I don't. But if I do, I can't find it. So I walk into, a parlor that's full of books from floor to ceiling. I walk into the little book room that's full of books from floor to ceiling. I walk into the kitchen. Even the kitchen has books. I walk into these places. I stand there, and I want to do the Kindle thing. I want to say, just tap in. Okay, where are you? And have it just call out. And because it doesn't, because these are print and paper books, not ebooks. It's entirely possible that I don't own a copy of Walter Lippmann and the American Century, and I want to reread it before I really dig into this thing. I read just a bit of this. Anyway, of course, I will judge this book on its own. You don't need to read the earlier big book on this subject, but the key word there is big. The earlier book was nice and capacious, and this is not. So I'm wondering what corners are being cut. This is calling itself an intellectual biography, so maybe that is the author's way out for dealing with only parts of Lippmann's life. But he was a thoroughgoing intellectual, so I would think that would be all the parts of his life. Maybe he didn't woo with his intellect, but neither I nor anybody wants to think about Walter Lippmann in love. Anyway, that's the next book. Then we'll just do 3. We'll do the third book, and I will try not to fulminate on the third book. I will try not to do that. This is by Brad Bowman. He is a academic at Princeton, I think. He's a historian of science. And this is his book, Lab Dog: What Global Science Owes to American Beagles. So it's not lapdog, it's lab dog. And it's about scientific experimentation on beagles in America in the last century, which has been a huge industry. Beagles were the favorite, the marketed favorite, in their tens of thousands, bred for lab abuse, for torture in labs, mainly because they are so good-natured. They are so compliant and good-natured that you could build on that. You could use that to your advantage if you wanted to randomly break their bones with hammers or set them on fire in order to do burn studies, or give them the entire breviary of horrifying illnesses. Intentionally give them those illnesses and watch them suffer to see if you can learn anything from their suffering that might help not them, but humans. Or, in the case of the military, and I don't think that Brad Bowman goes much into the military here. I certainly think that he doesn't study it in depth, because the end of this book seems to be him implying that the beagle research industry, research in heavy air quotes, is over or is dwindling. That is not true. That is not true. So I don't know who he's researching. We'll see. I haven't really dug into his sources. But the military famously has used beagles as well for endless research. I say research again in heavy air quotes, because if you are slinging 15 perfectly good-natured young or older beagles into canvas slings in a railway line at the end of a firing range and then firing artillery into them in order to research what kind of damage that does, you're a monster. You are Joseph Mengele. You do not need to do that in order to tell that artillery will rip apart a human body. I think you already know that. I think Hindenburg knew that. And that's just the discrete thing. Those animals scream in pain and agony and then bleed out in a few minutes or half an hour. Worst half an hour you could wish on anyone, but they're gone in half an hour. That's nothing compared to giving a beagle a horrible, painful, wasting cancer, knowing perfectly well you aren't going to give them any kind of palliative care. You're just going to watch them suffer. Or tumors that will break the bone of their skull and grow out to enormous pumpkin sizes on their heads so that they can't walk around, it's so big, because you've got to study it. And on and on and on. Just on and on and on, endlessly. And as my luck would have it, it's not usually any other breed of dog. It's usually just beagles. And Brad Bowman wrote a whole book about it, and I am going to trust him. I'm going to rely on him to pull me out of this subject. I'm going to rely on him to get me to think about his book instead of all the people being mutilated by sadists all throughout his book. I'm going to rely on him to do that. Maybe he will do that a little too well. If this is a bloodless book, it will infuriate me. Absolutely infuriate me. Because this is not a subject you should study bloodlessly. I don't care what the 19th century Germans said. This is an outrage on every level. There were no discoveries made this way that in any way justify the means. None at all. None at all. This was just sadism. Sometimes of even the most horrifyingly negligent kind. Yes, I have spent the weeks leading up to November intentionally injecting these 12 beagles who are all friendly. They all jump up and kiss my face when I walk into the lab every day. I have spent months culturing and then injecting them with horrifying, painful, wasting illness that is going to give them months and months of agony while I study the results of whether or not that means that the same thing to a human would also create agony. Of course it would. Of course it would. And it wouldn't matter if you didn't know that. It's still an absolute abomination. But not only have I done that, and all of my lab assistants have done that, not only are these animals much sicker, withering in front of us, whining all day in agony, but, well, it's November 15th. Guys, it was great. This was wonderful. Now, some of you, your terms are up. I'll be getting new lab assistants, and I'm going to Topeka because the in-laws are there, and you know what that's like. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be a big tree. We all know how to do this really right. I'll see you all in mid-January when the semester starts again, and we all come back to the lab. And oops, we forgot to leave food and water. So these animals that we have been torturing for months then starve to death out of pure negligence. Just up crap. Completely forgot about it. Oh well. You should not be neutral about that. That is no subject for historians remove. None at all. That should be condemned in the most fire and brimstone moral terms imaginable to human beings. And every single scientist who has ever done that or ever benefited from that work should roast in the fires of hell for all eternity. Now, I'm not saying that Brad Bowman should say that. He shouldn't use that rhetoric, but he should be upset by this subject. I'm hoping that he is noticeably, visibly upset by this subject. This is a purely upsetting subject. This was generations and generations of savage physical abuse done for no reason whatsoever. Not that there could ever be a reason, but there was no reason. There was no justification at all for 20 years of military contractors to decide that artillery shells fired into human bodies would be really bad for human bodies because look at all these beetles it destroyed. Anyway, that's a third book. I keep ending these book roundups on bad books. Not bad books. Brad Bowman will probably do a great job. He's an incredibly smart young guy. Not a bad book in that sense, but a depressing downer of a book. Sorry about that. I've done that in a couple of videos today. But you might think, if I've done that in a couple of videos today, surely I can make a happy video to compensate. No, because that's how you get to 8 videos in a day. No, we cannot get to the point where we are making 8 videos a day. That cannot happen. This channel is already incredibly freakish. Even 1 video a day would be incredibly freakish, but 8? No. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Those are some new arrivals. Just in case some of them are on your radar. One of them I know is on David Murphy's radar. But in case they're on your radar, and we'll do this again next time, but not today. I need time to decompress from Coachella anyway. Thank you, BookTube.